Slamet Paggy, Mio here.
And Kino here to tell you that today we have Filipino thirst trapping,
Not safe for work Patreons,
cryptocurrency,
and Freudian complexes in this video talking about a controversial animator who has recently become the target of much scrutiny.
This is Shappysway, and even though you might have watched many videos talking about them, you're probably not aware of the whole story behind this most unwholesome animator.
We will explore Shappy's crypto origins, his excuses for alleged incest, and his false accusations against the YouTuber Ryth.
And after examining the entire timeline, we'll be discussing if any of this hate is actually deserved.
If you know anything about animation channels on YouTube, you know that there are good animators, bad animators, controversial animators, and terrible content farms. But Shappysway is a unique mix of all of that.
You see, if one was to take a peek at Shappysway's channel, they would likely at first think,
Oh, this looks pretty innocent in its Bluey-esque art style, bright colors, and most of the titles aren't that weird.
and if you watch the first half of the shorts they make, all the assumptions would be true. But then...
Oh my gosh! Pretty gross stuff, and extremely unexpected, which seems to be the goal of the channel, to have a rather innocent-looking channel than whammo blammo jokes about Shreks.
And no immediate offense intended, but the jokes themselves aren't even good. Just gross.
Alright, so here's how you're gonna defend dropping the soap.
Did you just
What are you doing, Dad?
You want me to rub your
What? My sister just passed away. I'm gonna miss her.
Yeah, it really sucks.
There's occasional themes of incest, and it appears that consent sometimes is just a suggestion.
The way the series presents itself is not entirely dissimilar to Happy Tree Friend, though there are some key differences. Ignoring how the series scarred some kids for life because their quote-unquote friends showed it to them after said friends saw it on TV, if you were to look for it on YouTube, you'd quickly see that it is not kid-friendly at all. In fact, if you look at the channel that it's being hosted by, the channel's description tells you all you need to know in the first sentence. Plus, a lot of people know about that infamous series.
Compare that to Shappysway, a channel that most people have never heard of, and has a description that says this. Spreading joy, conquering obstacles, and uplifting minds, I'm Shappy, your 2D embodiment of fun and resilience for grown-ups.
You might think that because it says for grown-ups, it's not too bad, but the for grown-ups bit was only added recently, further showing that their goal might have been to fly under the radar.
Update, they have changed the description yet again to Welcome to Shappysway, where adult humor meets unhinged animation. We make fast, weird, and slightly corny comedy, shorts for grown-ups with questionable taste, woof woof.
Shappysway didn't actually get much traction on YouTube until recently, with Instagram and TikTok being their big view earners. Interestingly, their first TikTok account appears to have been banned!
Eventually, the commentary channel Beto999 covered Shappysway on March 21st, 2025, and his video really got the ball rolling. Soon, other channels like Judge, Glider Guy, MK, and even Ryth started making videos about Shappy, which led to the Shappy social media team crashing out in the comments. Well, from what we can tell, these videos mostly cover Shappy's YouTube and reference his now deleted TikTok account.
Which is highly unfortunate, because the best way to fully understand the Shappy timeline is by going to their Twitter account, where one can witness their descent into depravity.
But before you run into the comments and say, wait, Ryth interviewed Shappy and had all kinds of questions answered, we are well aware and shall cover that interview later in the video.
Shappy didn't feel that conversation went very well, so they tried to clear things up in their own video. And that didn't clear things up for us, so we asked them some questions as well.
But before we get to that, we must first dive into the unholy hellscape of Twitter.
On July 10th, 2023, the first tweet made by Shappysway showed off what seemed to be the launching of a new project, and it had a very different vibe to modern Shappy.
Once upon a time, there lived a rat little human just like you. Sick of hearing the same speech about their state of mind like, be happy, love yourself, they decided to hide in their epic bedroom fortress away from the world. A friendly silhouette appeared and introduced itself in a warm and familiar way.
I am Shappy, and happiness is my eternal meaning. Let the odyssey of the soul begin.
For one, the mic of the announcer was, oh my goodness. For one, the mic of the announcer is crazy scuffed, and there's no sign of any other characters yet. And I guess you're supposed to be joining Shappy on some kind of magical adventure? Even if this time they're also using TTS for Shappy's voice, and his dialogue sounds Google translated.
But what's most interesting about this video, though, is at the very end, after Shappy finishes his line, the message, @Shappysway, powered by King, pops up.
At first, we couldn't find anything significant about the name King. We tried looking for King Animation or King AI, but nothing immediately popped up.
Then we went looking at comments from some of the later posts and saw people saying things like,
#King Finance.
and after looking at these profiles, almost all of these seem to be crypto-based accounts, including King Finance, which we can say with 100% certainty was heavily associated with Shappysway at one point.
Now it gets a little bit confusing as to whether Shappy was supposed to be a crypto grift or when, if ever, it stopped being one. But for the rest of July to late August, they would release random generic semi-inspirational posts. During this time, they would release a couple of really short animations that would have Spanish subtitles occasionally, and they would @ Elon Musk multiple times.
There are so many things wrong with that. I don't even know where to begin.
There's also more evidence of them being involved with crypto in some way, shape, or form.
And on August 25th, 2023, the character of Krabby popped up. I don't know if this character had popped up previously because, as mentioned before, I think the OG TikTok was banned. Relating to that fun fact, it seems that they have made another TikTok account which is now age restricted.
The TikTok with Crappy, I guess, could be considered more the realm of rude humor. It will continue with this sense of humor all the way from August through November 6th.
It's time to play. Is it Adam Sandler or a lesbian? So audience, is it Adam Sandler or a lesbian? It's a lesbian!
During this time, crypto accounts were the only people commenting on their posts.
What? Then on November 2nd, they got a new artist to make the new profile picture, and on November 8th, it seems that Yokify1 became the new official artist for their brand.
Video games are great because in video games, you can fulfill your greatest fantasies that you cannot do in your real life. For example, in The Sims, you can afford to pay your bills.
Yoki would tweet out on the same day that he had a new animation account, probably Shappysway.
No, definitely Shappy's way.
Definitely Shappysway.
Yokify1 is
Shappy.
yes, but is also a rather interesting creator. For what we can tell, they're a Filipino animator who is rather popular on TikTok. On Twitter, they post a whole lot of thirst pictures of themselves along with their animation stuff. And interestingly, they have a couple of tweets and retweets that involve crypto accounts. Very suspicious!
I couldn't really tell you what Yoki's animations are about because I don't speak that much Spanish, but most of his TikToks seem fine, though he has a couple of videos sexualizing Dora the Explorer! Oh no. There's also this TikTok, but I don't know if that's supposed to be a child or not.
Back to Shappy though. We'll occasionally call them he or they. They whenever we're referring to the team, and he when we're referring to the specific person at that given time. But we actually don't know how many people are involved with this certain project. But they/Yoki will continue making content, and while it stayed relatively tame for a time,
So, what else can you do?
I French kiss.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, but Daddy says I'm the best at it.
I don't even know where to begin.
more and more sexual themes started creeping on in until November 29th, where they made their first incest joke.
Everyone who makes you feel like you aren't good enough.
TBF. These jokes aren't that original. So, maybe it's not as bad for that reason? Question mark?
The main reason we bring up incest is because incest is brought up multiple times, and the excuses Shappy makes for said jokes later is highly questionable.
From there, it basically became modern Shappy. It's about a 50-50 mix of... It was about a 50-50... Shut up! It was about a 50-50 mix of relatively harmless, if not edgy jokes. And then the gay incest younger sister, no consent jokes. This would continue through 2023 and 2024.
On May 11th, 2024, they seem to be still involved in crypto in some way, shape, or form by associating with this cat meme coin thingy. I remember King Finance? Well, it seems that Shappy/King Crypto, whatever it is, launched, I think. I mean, based on the tweets, I'm a little bit confused, but if this is the coin that they launched, then oh no, that is not good.
More disgusting and horrendous jokes continued. And what is this? It seems they have a Patreon?
This Patreon apparently hosts not safe for work content.
Oh no!
And will be hosting giveaways. Okay, very curious. They also start taking art commissions. And while at first they were tame, just like the other content, it turned sexual. Very sexual, holy moly.
I guess their Rule 34 drawings were going to be placed on Patreon now. And it seems that this is the new priority for the channel. Instead of crypto, they put extra effort into marketing the Patreon with all its not safe for workness. They even went as far as making an account on some furry corn site that we shall not say the name of, just to promote their Patreon. And oh gosh, they're on
Aside from the corn and the gross jokes, for whatever reason, whoever is running the Twitter account is also really obsessed with hating President Trump and the Republican Party. They also hate Elon Musk, despite still following him on Twitter. I guess they want to know what he's gonna tweet out next?
We don't particularly care about people posting their political opinions. After all, this is the Twitter hellscape, and they're free to do so. But it's very bizarre seeing posts talking about how Trump sucks, only to get hit with an NSFW Patreon promotion.
Now, while we find almost all the jokes Shappy makes gross and tasteless, and the NSFW Patreon to be horrible, most of this content is appropriate for the platform they're on. On Twitter, content moderation is kind of a joke. On Patreon, it is completely allowable.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
And on Instagram and now TikTok, they have an 18+ account. Kids, in theory, shouldn't be able to view the content. Although technically incest does go against Instagram's TOS. Like we said, Shappy is very depraved.
But yeah, this content is fine for these platforms. But it's really not fine for YouTube, which is what started this whole war with the commentary YouTubers.
What? You don't know what commentary YouTubers are?
Well, commentary YouTubers are YouTube channels that commentate on various topics.
We have different kind of categories. We have the T channels. We have that annoying type of channel that always puts themselves in the middle of the thumbnail while holding a microphone.
And we have channels that cover other channels on YouTube or TikTok and the like.
Some people cover lol cows like Turkey Tom, and other people like Ryth, who we mentioned earlier, cover TikTokers and other people who they consider to be bad actors, such as Rocky Raccoon. Rocky Raccoon being one of the bad actors.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
So yeah, when they found out about Shappysway, they had a heyday. And Beto was the first person to drop their video.
Beto's video was basically him reacting to some of Shappy's videos and criticizing their content, calling him a creep who draws CP, referencing the short where Crappy is assaulted by his dad.
After that, a whole bunch of people in the commentary space started talking about it, saying that Shappy is weird, a creep, and should be age restricting his videos, and Shappy didn't exactly take this very well.
Whoever was running the account, which we'll talk about soon, started crashing out in the comments saying that these channels were misrepresenting them and replying to random people in the comment section and just being a really salty person. Well, they didn't just stop there. They proceeded to make some of the most unhinged community posts imaginable.
In order, I said order, to defend themselves, they turned to their only remaining defense, ChatGPT, which is wild, because depending on what prompt you put in, you can get ChatGPT to say just about anything.
Speaking of saying just about anything, the Shappy YouTube account would also levy allegations of racism and sexism towards Ryth, as well as also insinuating that Ryth exposes children to sexual material. Oh my, the hypocrisy!
Ryth would later acknowledge these accusations in one of his videos, but to summarize, no, he isn't sexist or racist, and the purpose of his channel is to expose degenerate content, not glorify it, and his thumbnails aren't that inappropriate, and everyone else is doing it anyway.
Now, we don't we personally don't think that... I don't even know what voice to do anymore. I hate it here. We personally don't think that just because everyone else is doing it means that's a great practice, but to each their own, I suppose. While we do see that some of Ryth's thumbnails may be considered objectionable, to say he's exposing minors to sexually explicit material is a very bizarre argument to make.
Also around this time, it'd be revealed that Shappy had limited ads on one of his videos that he was appealing, which people found to be quite odd if he truly was trying to make sure his content was appropriate for his ideal audience. Shappy later stated that the video that got limited ads was a short where some kid got his arms ripped off, so I guess it was just violence, not the sexual content.
By the way, Shappy has a second channel called Shappysway, which may come in handy for ban evasion, but it's supposed to be a secret channel, so don't go telling anybody. And if that wasn't enough about the community posts, Shappy began filing false copyright takedowns on Ryth and Glider Guy's channels. Basically, Shappy was telling YouTube that Ryth and Glider Guy will re-upload their content without permission, ignoring the fact that Ryth and Glider Guy's videos are considered transformative.
Funnily enough, filing false copyright claims can actually be grounds for channel termination. That being said, this is probably the first time Shappy's channel has done this, so I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube is lenient this time. It would be quite the development if they did get banned on YouTube, though.
But if his channel did get deleted, we lose his wonderful comment section full of confused and traumatized people. I thought this was an average kid's brain rot gel, but no, it's even worse! I cry now.
I feel like this was made more for adults than children. EDIT, I know this is definitely for adults, but it looks like it's made for children at the same time, for some reason. At this point, this is Happy Tree Friends, but instead of gore, it's corn!
At this point, this isn't suggestive. It's just straight up not safe for work.
The darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
Ain't no way this is for kids. Ain't no way. Bro, I'm dead. EDIT. When I first commented this, the description said expanding minds, education, or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was something like that, and then it got changed.
This is probably a 30-year-old man making these to target a kid's audience. Bro, I'm dead.
Bro didn't read that about me.
What? He never said it was for kids.
Crappy is 29.
He never said it was about adults. Not one word. Look at the description.
Bro, look the post and you see.
This is why
there's an age restriction.
But
bro, I'm dead.
Please go outside and touch grass, bro. This is the worst video I've ever seen. It is also disgusting. It's still up on YouTube. Don't promote this kind of humor to your young audience, dude. It's horrible. Take this rather aggressive thumbs down.
As an actual gay person, I don't get offended by homophobic jokes, but gay jokes are horrible. Word.
The way the gun kissed my head.
The way the car hugged my ribs.
The way the rope hugged my neck.
I think we get the point.
Bro, this is just corn. Why is this not demonetized?
I don't know.
Chat! I caught my 7-year-old niece watching this crap. Later, all his community posts would be deleted, and shortly thereafter, in mid-April of 2025, Ryth announced that Beto, MK, Glider Guy, and himself had gotten into a call with Shappy, and would be releasing the video, / Spotify episode soon.
But as we mentioned before, Shappy was none too pleased with how the interview had gone, and before anyone published their version of the interview, Shappy uploaded
a structured follow-up to the interview
in an attempt to get their ideals across uninterrupted.
Note, during this time, Shappy began re-uploading his shorts under different names, one of the many signs of becoming a content farm. Actually, is he just a content farm now? I don't know. By definition, maybe.
But hey, since this video's gotten delayed, everyone involved in the interview call with Shappy has released their full videos, and I think it's time to go over that whole situation.
The call itself is almost 2 hours, and there's some infrequent cursing, so we won't be playing a bunch of full clips, but we'll be going into the main points. If you want to watch the full call, we'll link everyone involved in the drama in the description.
First, it's worth noting that Beto, the person who made the first popular video on Shappy, had gotten some DMs from Shappy who wanted to clarify some things.
For one, he made what one might call a threat towards Beto, because Beto had previously said that Shappy was built like some kind of pred for animating Crappy borking his dad, and Beto could be facing some legal trouble because of those statements.
And for two, he tried explaining the whole Crappy and his dad thing. He said that the character Crappy has mental issues that have not been fully explored due to the budget. He then started talking about Freudian theories, which is already a bad sign.
He mentions the Electra complex, although arguably the Oedipus complex matches more. The Electra/Oedipus complex, or however you say that, is basically...
Bird?
Dang. The Electra/the Oedipus, or however you say that, complex is basically a theory that children ages 3 to 6 will become jealous of the same-sex parent and develop unconscious sexual attraction to the opposite sex parent. This is a theory that has been highly scrutinized and has at times been used to cover up CSA cases. So in other words, no bueno.
In his video, Beto mentions that this doesn't make any sense in the context of the short for multiple reasons, like how he and his father are the same sex, and how Crappy is way too old for this. That's just like super gross, bruh.
Brief break for personal opinions. Morally questionable as it is to use such themes in your story willy-nilly, we also call bull hockey. I personally think that Shappy was pulling excuses out of his butt, because in Instagram DMs, he said to us that
there is no incest, these are stepdad hub jokes. We find it really disturbing that most of the content that adults consume on the hub is related with stepmoms, stepdads, or siblings, and we make satire and heavy jokes about it to show how gross and unappealing it is outside of pages like P-Hub.
A bit of a different answer to what he told Beto, and Shappy also ignores the fact that people don't have the lore of the story, and we'll just see a young-looking dog character call this guy Daddy, then proceed to be dragged into a forced copulation.
And Crappy only ever calls this character Dad or Daddy, and since there are very few shorts mentioning the ages of these characters, as far as everyone is concerned, this is some kind of dog borking his son. Disgusting!
And before you say,
they don't act like kids.
There's still movies like Good Boys and Cuties, and those are still kids. Also, this isn't the first time Shappy has used an incest joke. It doesn't always involve Crappy, although I guess this particular short might not be incest. It could just be an adult bear and a much younger looking bear. Maybe it's just a height difference. Don't know. Also, it's very hard to find out these characters' ages. We can't even find it on the Shappysway website.
Oh, nah, I ain't seen nothing.
I ain't seen nothing.
But anyway, back to the interview. They all piled into a call, and things stayed civil for about, give or take 2 minutes. Instead of going over every second of the call, we'll go topic by topic. We'll occasionally insert our own opinions, but then we'll save most of that for later. And in case you think we're twisting any info, the interview will be linked below.
Apparently, Shappy is super busy recently because of all the shows and other stuff. Side note, they have another show about a drunk swordsman who is trying to survive the modern day. It's like Shappysway, but different.
Shappy is Italian, I guess, so he's not an English native speaker. This is one of the reasons that he has someone else write comments and stuff on the social media.
Now to the first topic of the discussion. What is the actual age rating for Shappy's channel?
Well, you see, there was a business project thing, that might have been crypto stuff, I don't know, that had this mascot, and they, whoever they are, were supposed to help develop this project, but then things didn't go as planned. And there's also this animation studio in Ohio, but then they didn't have much money, and Vet, who's the person talking in the interview, used to be a fashion designer.
Okay, but that's not what we asked.
And Vet didn't grow up in the greatest of homes. He was cool with his mom, but his father was a different story. He used to sneak out with friends to go watch stuff like South Park, because in Europe, stuff like that was quite rare.
Okay!
Vet!
Get to the point! Get to the point! Vet, who we're going to just call Shappy because he's the Shappy CEO, which is crazy considering the interview we're about to go into, says that most of the content on their channel will be rated 13 plus for kids who have parents that allow them to watch such things like Family Guy and stuff. He does say that there are some videos that are more mature than others.
If you think that your content is overall 13 plus, do you think that it is, let's say, appropriate? Do you think that it's appropriate to siphon your 13 to 17, you know, those are still minors. Do you think it's appropriate to siphon them over to your Patreon, which you are very much doing because you're siphoning them to porn?
I think what's the show in social media and how the other part of Patreon came out is totally separate things. Of course, we have the link in social media and all that. Mostly,
Beto then asks Shappy if it's appropriate to have 18 plus links in their YouTube description. Shappy thinks it's no big deal, since there are warnings of adult material before you enter the site. Therefore, it's okay. And when asked if one of his goals was to get people to click on the links, he said yes.
Your end goal is to get people to click on these links and pay you. Am I wrong for that? Is that not your end goal?
It's a part of it, but we are not actually asking minors.
If your end goal is to get people to click on this link to
Shappy also says that these websites like Twitter and Patreon aren't for kids, which is a rather pointless thing to say, since he already admitted that getting people to click on the links is part of his goal. Plus, in some of the shorts, he actively tells people to go and check out their different websites.
Both sides argue about whether Shappy has a kid audience or not. One point I think the commentary YouTubers kind of messed up was when they said,
"Bro, just check your stats, there are kids in your audience,"
and then later say that YouTube stats are bogus and the kids lie about their age. I suppose both things could be true, but it is rather confusing.
But Shappy thinks that the only reason they have kids in the audience is because, for one, kids do lie about their age, and two, because commentary YouTubers sent their audience over to Shappy's channel.
Most of the people that are coming to see our videos now, fortunately or unfortunately, or both, come from your channels for actually the criticism videos you made and so on. You know what I mean?
Oh, come on, dude. That is such a point. That is such a bad point.
We personally believe that Shappy does have a large amount of kids in his audience, both due to his content style and because of the commentary YouTubers. It's funny because if he does have a large kid audience, then he probably should restrict his content to stop kids from viewing his videos. And if he doesn't have kids in his audience, then he might as well age restrict his videos to stop underage kids from viewing his content. And then he wouldn't lose most of his audience since they would be adults, right?
At least in theory. Shappy still doesn't want to age restrict his videos, but eventually remove the links from the description. He has recently, unfortunately, returned them back to its description. This once again ignites the argument that he is shepherding his child audience to his not safe for work content.
If I had to guess, Shappy doesn't age restrict his videos because he doesn't want less views and money for the channel, but it's entirely possible that he does want teens who are interested to click on his links.
And teenagers, especially teenagers, consume pornography, like at an adult age and so on. Some people still do, some people enjoy it, some people develop other kinds of interests.
Throughout the interview, he mentioned several times that teens will watch corn, just like he did when he was younger. So maybe he doesn't think it's all that bad, and maybe he thinks it's a good thing for teens to watch corn. He barely mentions, if ever, that watching corn as a teen is a bad thing, so I don't know what his opinion is.
Either way, his opinion is completely irrelevant, because having a younger audience, especially around the 13 to 15 year range, is not a great idea, since corn porn is really bad for teens' developing minds. Whether it's common for teenagers to go to the hub, as they say, or watch content like Shappy's, doesn't mean that it's all righty-tighty.
I also think that what type of audience you attract is easier if you make long-form videos, but Shappy mostly makes shorts that often have a wider reach. Either way, it's clear that Shappy really does not want to age-restrict his content. Time for topic 2! What do the commentary videos about Shappy get wrong?
They mostly talk about whether kids are able to look at his content, despite being underage. Shappy says that they shouldn't be able to, but MK says that a YouTube video that I currently can't find apparently shows that a YouTube account with full parental controls can still access Shappy's content. Shappy doesn't have anything to say about this really, except that such a thing should not be possible. He also never asked to see the damning evidence.
On the same topic but another point, they ask who was spamming all those comments and making the community posts. Shappy says it was a separate person, that the stuff they posted was not appropriate, and that he has spoken to that person. The commentator YouTubers are of the opinion that that person should be fired! Shappy thinks the person shouldn't be fired for one little mistake. The mistake being the filing of a document to try to take down someone's channel and using someone else's signature, presumably Vet's, to file a false claim that could have gotten the Shappy channel deleted. But guys, it's just a little mistake that could end in a lawsuit. No big deal.
Topic 3! What's up with Shappy sexualizing characters that look like kids?
You already touched on this quite a bit earlier, but this section of the interview gets really heated.
They try to press Shappy on whether or not characters that look younger than they actually are should be sexualized. Shappy says no to a lolly character, but the straightest answer he could make for Monster Girl, who's mentally 26 but physically 12, was that if the creator's cool with it, then it's fine.
Author thinks that actually making her having this kind of humor part and so on and say that or do that, I would be fine with it. I'm not going to judge this person because it's his adult characters. He probably has a reason why he does it.
Her full like body, just not just her face.
Well,
now you can see the full picture of her.
Right.
So, are we making
this childlike adult?
I don't know if they do porn of their own characters that are adults. It's not my concern.
There's no nuance.
If you want to look at the full interview yourself, feel free. But from what we can tell, Shappy doesn't like lollies, but characters that are supposed to be adults but look younger, it's fine. Or at least he's fine if other people do it.
If it's anime, it crosses the line! This whole question was brought on by the video where Shappy's sister is apparently dead, but she's actually doing gross stuff with Crappy. She looks pretty young, but according to Shappy, she is an adult.
Every adult character is actually totally allowed to be sexualized because it's an adult and can actually get into
You disgust me.
They are adults. I don't care.
So shocking that you cannot answer this question.
Personal opinion, I don't know if Shappy is a creep in that particular way, but what we can gather from this Discord call, he's fine with the sexualization of characters that look like minors. And even ignoring that, the video with Shappy's sister is some next level depravity, my word. Who thought of that?
You have to see this on a per video basis. So for that specific video where we're talking about someone who's clearly a child, when people scroll through their shorts feed, a brand new viewer who's never seen your channel before, has no idea who you are, they're gonna see that. You know, they could be extremely young. They're going to see like that's disgusting.
I mean, we've already talked about this.
3 weeks later.
They're just going to look at it at face value and say,
problem, dude. This is our animation.
Of course, it's not your problem. It's not your problem. It's your animation. Of course, you can do what you want. At the end of the day, you have free will. But the problem here is the fact that that looks like a child. Does that not make you feel like...
No, because
it actually is Shappy's problem if people aren't looking for the lore, because as mentioned earlier, everyone is just going off of what they see, and most people think that this is a kid, and this is his dad, and this over here is a young girl. Plus, there just isn't that much lore at all.
So our audiences and fans are perfectly aware that they are adults, and that is the end, and that is the end of this discussion.
Right, so what if somebody watches for the first time?
If somebody watches for the first time, behind your character just talking about some other people's shows that are being going for years, you cannot just decide on that. I mean, what the dude? Like,
we're not necessarily deciding. We're saying what it looks like. Yeah, we're saying what it looks like.
General perception matters more.
They argue more about if this looked like a child, with the commentary people saying that majority of people would think this is a child, and Shappy says that his fans would know better. However, despite them making the suggestion that he should make his own community post asking his fans what they thought, it seems Shappy has no plans of doing so, and he doesn't say it here, but it's probably because most of his current viewers are from the commentary channel's audience. Thus, the results would not be skewed in his favor.
It is worth noting, Shappy is rather inconsistent about whose audience he actually has, whether it's actually his audience or their audience. Regardless, everyone proceeds to get more and more heated, with Shappy saying it's not fair that their content be judged on one short because they have lore, and everyone else is calling Shappy a cupcake enjoyer.
After the interview/interrogation, Shappy started having a bit of a meltdown in the Discord server. He watched Glider Guy's video on it, but I will only say it did impact our tradability towards Shappy significantly.
What are you doing here?
So that is pretty much the whole Discord call. Before we move on to our final thoughts though, let's quickly cover our interview, if you can call it that, with Shappy.
The person that we talked to on Instagram was probably not Vet from the Discord call, and was instead the aforementioned person who runs the social media.
We already covered their excuses for incest jokes, and they give pretty much the same spiel about how only kids over 14 can make a YouTube account without adult supervision.
We don't really think that the content that they make is appropriate for kids of the age of 14, but sure. Doesn't really excuse the whole 18+ link that they're trying to get their views to click on, though.
Supposedly, they talked to the person who runs the Twitter, and they will no longer be posting political opinions along with NSFW content. They'll keep it only to politics, which is an interesting decision.
And finally, they say they are no longer associated with crypto, so at least we know that they were involved in crypto.
After the interviews dropped, everyone kinda went back to normal. Kinda. Shappy started making gaming videos for some reason, and would sometimes try to flex on the haters, I guess. So, let's go over our thoughts.
Oh, this drama could have been avoided if they course-corrected into making less sexual content while age-restricting the content on YouTube, like they do in other places, because it is super gross. It would definitely help if their main moneymaker at this point wasn't all the not safe for work stuff on the Patreon, or if they at least just removed the links. It would just solve so many issues.
There's actually a furry artist that we've recently heard about, because they popped up randomly on YouTube, that draws some rather questionable things on Twitter, but also has a YouTube channel. Now, we won't mention the name of said artist, as that would be counterintuitive, because we have a lot of kids in our audience, and they have 18+ links on their Twitter. But she keeps things pretty tame for the most part on YouTube, and doesn't link to their Twitter at all, since their videos are not age-restricted on YouTube. Shappy could easily do the same thing.
Shappy claims that the ideal audience are kids over 13 to 14 and adults, but at the same time they market their corn to their audience that they know contains kids. But they also complain and blame shift, saying that it's Ryth and the gang's fault for seeing the audience over. You think he'd be happy because he claims he wants an audience that is over 14. So pick a lane, Shappy.
They really want to try not to be culpable for all the corn, but morally they are cooked. So, judging by Shappy's logic, we should just give nuclear codes and launch console thingies to minors. Show them where to find it and how to use it, but then tell them, not until you're 18, little Timmy. Nothing bad will happen, I'm sure.
It does help that's behind a paywall. We noticed the little slip up, by the way, but that can still be bypassed. Also, some 15+ kids that borrow credit cards or have their own debit cards, so this is by no means a foolproof strategy. Not to say that Shappy is entirely culpable, but it's not the greatest solution. In general, mixing audiences is a bad idea. Keep your 13+ content and your mature content separate.
And Shappy, you may want to get a better public speaker for your company. Whether you're being malicious or not, you start to sound like a predator when you can't answer whether or not this 12-year-old, who definitely looks like a 12-year-old, looks pretty young, can be sexualized. It's not good and reflects very poorly on the Shappy brand.
And stop talking about your lore, it ain't that deep. As we noted, you don't even put ages in the bios on your own website. And also, don't usually judge indie products too harshly, but this has one of the most unprofessional teams we have ever seen. No hate, just facts.
People think you guys are preds. You constantly play the victim. Your social media manager needs to take a chill pill, and somebody needs to start coming up with some better material. Using the same 2 or 3 jokes with varying levels of consent is not the LOL you think it is. That's probably why the like-to-view ratio for your million-view shorts isn't very good.
Also, associating with Rocky Raccoon is one of the dumbest decisions you could have done. And to talk to him right after the Discord call was a really bad look. But who am I to judge who you keep company with?
In the end, Shappy team, you've done everything in your power to make yourselves look like the bad guy. I do, at least at first, think that the commentary community kinda jumped on you guys unfairly and portrayed you without a lot of nuance or research. Probably just, yet another video, just getting a few views. That said, they ended up being right, and you provided not a lot of nuance to the situation.
The Risk Squad really pisses the opinion that their characters look like kids, but it's possible that in this style, that's just what adults look like. It's just really weird that they are so much smaller and younger looking than their parents.
But at least Shappy doesn't use kid-friendly trends and topics like Rocky Raccoon or Cougar McDowell, so credit where credit is due.
To Shappy, we hope you change your ways. As bad as things look, it's possible to recover from this, and if you choose to make a series, we hope it isn't as crude and horrible as your shorts are, and that it goes well. If you continue on this super lewd and crude route, expect criticism, because it would be stupid not to.
Let's be clear, we don't like your content. content.
And we really don't like the trend of taking anything that's kid-friendly and innocent and twisting into some kind of Kuma-brained brain rot garbage. But hey, that's just our opinion, and that's the end of the video.
We unks, as usual, are late to the party, dead flower emoji, but hopefully we added some insight to the topic.
And if you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing for future content that hopefully will be on the way soon.
And an epic thank you to our channel members, especially William YT, who is a massive fan.
For the low 99 cents, you can go access exclusive videos and community posts and help support the channel. No pressure if you don't, and thank you for watching.
We've covered similar channels to Shappy's Way in the past, so if you want to check those out, check out this video over here.
And if you want something different but equally as interesting, check out this video over here.
Until we see you in the next one, in the wise words of King Finance Coin's value,
goodbye.
This is what my little sister is watching!